When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite. Looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Within the gaming world, there are your general gamers, but then there are those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming. If you're one of those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming, we certainly got the place to send you. Scorpion Lair Games. That's right, Scorpion Lair Games is the creators of the true crime hit Killers, the card game. Let's not forget they also have Killers Clothing Company, their profiler game, and things like the 5-Minute Murder channel on YouTube. And we certainly can't forget the new book that is certainly a hit, Beyond the Headliners, True Crimes, Myths, and Legends. Make sure you visit Jeff and the Scorpion Lair Games on Facebook and everywhere today.
Hey everybody, this is Douglas Vermeeren. I'm the producer and director of the film The Science of Getting Rich, as well as several other films. I'm also a full-time actor and producer of other films. I just want to say I had an incredible experience on Crazy Train Radio. We've got some really important things that we're going to share with you, so be sure to come and visit with us, and we'll tell you all about how you can change your life with The Science of Getting Rich.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. These next guests have a new project out, and it's going to help show us average Joes the way to discover the transformative power of wealth in this latest documentary, The Science of Getting Rich, which is now going to be released worldwide. We'll jump into it. Let's welcome Simon Davis, Matthew Poechman, and Douglas Vermeeren. I always butcher names, I'm sorry. How are you doing, gentlemen?
We'll get it figured out along the way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That is a hard last name, Douglas. I have a hard time with it too.
Yeah. Well, honestly, our names don't matter. We're here to serve. We want to help your audience really understand how to take their finance to the next level and understand what this movie can do for them. So don't worry about our names. Just make sure you take some good notes because we want to be of service today.
Yeah, and hopefully you can help me out and I'll tell you my story later off air, but because I know me and Doug were talking about something else. So we'll figure it out. But good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Great. Thanks for having us. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So I got, well, Doug, I know you were the producer on this thing, and apparently, according to the interweb, which we know everything is true on there, there was over 400 interviews and stuff for this. But where did this whole idea and project start?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the reality is the Science of Getting Rich is a book. It's been around for a long time. It came out in 1910, and it's been very influential to the personal development industry as well as the wealth training industry. In fact, if you look, there's a very famous book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and he decided to do that book primarily because of the Science of Getting Rich. And of course, we've all heard of the movie The Secret, which did really revolutionary things in the world of personal development in 2006 when it came out. And that was also influenced by this book, The Science of Getting Rich. And so as I looked at what would be a really useful project for people in our marketplace today, the economy today, what it is, I think we really needed, how should we say, some inspiration and some hope, some optimism. I looked at what could be the message to share. And I thought the reality is the Science of Getting Rich, because quite frankly, it's not about money. It's about everything expanding in our life. And I think we really need that ability to take our power back. And the Science of Getting Rich is a really good tool for doing that. And of course, as a result, you can definitely make a lot of money.
Yeah, there's other aspects you guys talk about. I watched last night because I've been playing catch up on episodes and stuff like that on my end. But it's funny, there was one line that stood out to me that was like, because I'll be honest, folks, I never saw The Secret and stuff, but well aware of everything, all that fun stuff. But there was a line that stood out to me. I'm actually pulling it up because I had to quote it. It was good. Like it was one of those hit me upside the head going, hey, dummy, that type of deal. But the line I was thinking was, what you think about is what you bring about. And, that's just one of those, like it was one of those wake-up calls for me, if that makes sense. But Simon and Matt, how did you two get involved with this project?
Oh, man. This is a story and a half. So I go back 2.5 years ago. I was flat broke, in debt, living at a farm, kicked out of my house because I had lost everything. And I literally was on my knees asking God, universe, source, whatever, please help me, give me some direction. And literally the next day, a movie appeared in my inbox that somebody had sent me, and it was called How Thoughts Become Things. And I'm like, sounds cool, I'll watch it. And I watched it. Fell in love with one of the characters. His name was Bob Proctor. I was like, who the heck is this guy? He's spitting and yelling and just, but he was saying everything that I wanted to hear. And it literally, like, something just dawned on me. And it was like, I think that I've been waiting my whole life for trying to find this. It was like the solution to all the problems I had ever had in my life. And I didn't know it at the time, but there was this inner essence. And I was just, I watched the movie like so many times. Like it was just unreal how many times I watched. It's got to be hundreds of times. And it was just over and over and over. But I really, and all the cast, everybody, of course, Douglas too. But Bob really stood out to me for some reason. And so I gravitated towards him, ended up getting involved in some of his programs and whatnot. And lo and behold, I became one of his coaches for his company, which I am to this day. And let's see, it was probably June of this year. My business partner called me up and said, hey, there's a movie called The Science of Getting Rich. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch it. And he was like, how would you like to be in it? And I'm like, shut that crap up. Like, come on. And he goes, yeah, you know who Douglas Vermeeren is? And I'm like, yeah, that movie changed my life. Like, that was it. And so he said, I want you to call this number. And so, like, I'm still thinking he's pranking me. I'm going deep sea fishing right now with my buddy. We're off the ferry in Vancouver. We're Vancouver Island. And I'm like, this is a load of crap. I'm like, oh, good gag. So he gives me this number. I call and Douglas answers. And I'm like, oh my God, this is legit. Because I'm thinking I'm being gagged. Lo and behold, Douglas, like, do you know the Science of Getting Rich stuff? And I'm like, I've read the book dozens and dozens of times. I live it. Literally, it transformed my life. Matter of fact, the first program I bought from Bob's company was The Science of Getting Rich, which led into a coaching program, which led into me becoming a coach. So to me, like everything just aligned, and it was just like, wow. And then I thought, I'm going to be in a movie with my mentor, with the producer, and all these people that actually changed my life. And that alone shifted my new belief that I'd already adopted last summer 100-fold. Like, just because I was just like, are you kidding? What are the chances of this? So that's how I got involved with it. And of course I was like, heck yeah. And I literally had to tell my buddy, we're not going fishing. I got to be in Calgary tomorrow. And I had like all this fishing gear. I had no clothes, nothing. And it was just turn around, get my ass to Calgary, meet Douglas the next day, boom, boom, boom. And then back to fishing. I was like, what a wild 24 hours and turn of events. And to this day, I'm still absolutely speechless of how this stuff all happened in my life. Yeah, it was a very weird 24-hour period. I was going fishing, and before I knew it, I was standing in front of the producer in a green room, which I'd never been on, like on a piece of tape that he was like, Sharon Lecter stood here and all these people. And I was just like, what is happening? Like, how did this happen? 2 years ago, I was watching this guy's movie. Now I'm in front of him and he's filming me and asking me questions. And to this day, I'm still in awe. Like I'm in awe right now, just thinking about how this all turned out. Never in my life would I thought I was going to be in The Science of Getting Rich, which was the first program with the producer whose movie changed my life, with my partner Matt. I just like, it's just crazy how the universe works and stuff. But yeah, that 24 hours was a very life-changing, probably one of the best 24 hours. And anyways, I ended up going back fishing, and I caught like 26 fish the next day. Just had the best time. And my buddy was still there waiting for me. Go, how was it? And I was just like in awe, just going, I guess I'm in this movie, like, and it's such an amazing movie. I hope everybody gets a chance to see it. It's going to, like Douglas's first film that I watched, it changed my life. And I know anyone that watches this, it'll change theirs too, if they want it.
So Matt, what about you? How did you get roped in?
I got roped in by Simon. That's how I got roped in. I was inspired by Simon's journey, and I had him come and become his mentee, and he mentored me, and we learned this material. He taught it to me, and it transformed my entire life. So when he came to me and said, "Hey man, you got to talk. I want you to talk to Douglas," and I'm like, "This is crazy." Kind of like him. He thought. He thought he was being pranked. I was like, man, this isn't even real. Like, I haven't been doing this for very long, and my life transformed in under a year. It completely changed. And I realized that we do hold the power within ourselves and our thoughts to create anything. And yeah, it was a whirlwind. It was like, Douglas is like, can you be in Calgary? We were on the phone at 6 p.m. and he's like, can you be here at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning? And I'm like,
I'm terrible.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Get here
now. Yeah. So that was it. I jumped on the plane. I had no idea where I was going and what I was doing. And I had no idea how it would turn out. But I had been studying this material every single day with consistency and intention and absolute devotion to the material. So it just flowed naturally to talk about it, and I was just completely grateful and blessed to even be thought of for this movie, and to be on screen with people like Simon and Bob Proctor and John Osseroff is just, it's absolutely beyond.
And Douglas.
And absolutely. And Douglas. Douglas is like, I mean, this guy's been around for so long. I'm still in shock and awe at all the things that he's accomplished. Yeah. So amazing.
It's funny, and you guys referenced the book from 1910 by the same name, and that was written by Waddles. Excuse me. There you go, paperback version. And what do you think about that? Is able the information there and be processed from? Who would have thought of some of these concepts like law of attraction and such? And 1910 would be, 120 or 114 years later, still be, hey, this works even today.
Well, this stuff, a lot of this stuff goes back in a lot of it is actually in the Bible.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, this is not necessarily like if someone's inventing something, okay, we've got to ask why are they discovering this for the first time? But if it's something that's always been true and that always exists, and just like in the science of getting rich, they call it an exact science. When we also hear of this stuff, we also refer to them as being laws sometimes, like the law of abundance or the law of attraction or these things. So what that means is that they are actually absolutes. Now, the reality is most people don't know how to understand it. But most people don't know how to understand electricity, yet we use it as well. So the key, I think, is just to understand that these are not new principles. Wallace D. Wattles did not invent them. But thank goodness he put them in a way that we could understand it, like a box for us to be able to look at it and say, here's how it works. Here's how you can apply it personally and get started. And I think that that's something that a lot of the personal development that has followed has built upon, right? I don't claim to, even with this movie or with that last movie, How Thoughts Become Things, or even with my next movie, I don't claim that I'm the creator or inventor of those concepts. We're just now sharing them in a way that hopefully makes them accessible to other people. That's really what our job as teachers is.
Yeah. Everything's always here. Nothing's been created as far as we know. Energy's never created or destroyed. Like Douglas said, this was always here. He just figured it out.
Pretty much, yeah. And I'm one of those folks, and I always quote Bill Clinton's book from when he was in the White House and such. Yep, his pre-political life up through the White House. And there's a quote he used without getting fully into it that he uses when he first got into office. And we're not going politics, folks, but he says, it's one thing when you get elected, I'm going to do this, I want to do that, I want to, you have a game plan of what you'd like to do. And he claims he was never a financial guy per se. And obviously at the time, a big thing, and it usually is the economy. And he says, I have to admit, I know what I don't know, and have to go to those folks who are smarter than me in this particular field. And I always found that fascinating.
Well, that really is the first step in personal development as well, is I think sometimes we think we know a lot of answers. We think we have a lot of things figured out. It was interesting. I was talking in another podcast, Matt and I were there, that there was a bit of research done by the organizations that do taxes, for example, like the IRS and so forth. And they looked at entrepreneurs and found that the bulk of entrepreneurs, like people who are running their own show, typically max out at about $200,000 a year. That's the ceiling for most of them. And then there's a very small group that actually goes above that and is able to do over $1 million. And they looked at why do some people stop at 200,000 while others can go to 1 million. And the study kind of found out that basically this is sort of the limit of what people know. So they can do only so much on their own with the information that they understand, with the things that they, have their experience in. But the group that went over 1 million they looked at, and those were the ones that were willing to learn, to get mentors, and to admit that there's stuff I don't know. I've never done it before. And when that group gets help, they can break past that 200,000 and they can find their way exponentially to higher results. And I think that that's something that really holds our society back. Like many of us think that we are already really, really smart, but we don't know what we don't know. And that's the challenge, right?
Yeah. I think it's also like, it's like an athlete. They're only going to be so good until they get a really good coach that's going to take them to that next level, right? That's, that knows what they're doing.
We're talking about practice, not a game. We're talking about practice. We talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
Absolutely. And, a question was presented during when I was watching last night, and it was, how do we define wealth? Because obviously there's, when you say that, most people think about the financial side, but there's also spiritual and personal and different angles as well with that. So how do you guys define it?
For me, I define wealth as money, actually, but riches, I define completely different. Money's really not even it is in the equation, but it's really far down there. Richness to me is life experiences, time, who I'm spending it with, all that sort of stuff. And then obviously, money's involved. You need money to have the experiences and to live an abundant life and stuff. But for me, the word wealth is that is monetary for me anyways. But the word richness to me, I don't think of money really when I think of that word. I think of how rich is my life, who's in my life, how am I experience life, how do I spend my days? Do I feel abundant and prosperous, or am I in lack and scarcity, and having poverty type thoughts or negative type thoughts? So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. Simon said it well. And I think most people have a different definition individually of what they think wealth and richness is. But I also think there's a common misconception in society today of what wealth is. I think people have a really negative money story, and they attach money to greed, and they attach money to selfishness. One of the really cool things that I learned in the personal development world and through the learning, again, like Douglas said, when you come to the table and learning the things you don't know, right, and you're open to that learning, I learned that money can be attracted, right, and you can build wealth, but not to serve yourself. You can build wealth and you can gain riches, but you can do it in a way that you're fulfilling everything in your life by pouring it into the lives of others. And so when you really have that approach and you let go of the self, the accumulation of wealth is not to individually have, a 20,000 square foot home and 8 Bentleys in the driveway. The purpose is, to fulfill the lives of others. And as the other two guys on this call know, when you pour into the life of someone else, when you are able to impact the life of someone else in a positive way, that brings you all the richness in life that you could ever want.
It's interesting to maybe just add to that. As we've done the other movies as well, there's one that we did called The Treasure Map. And that also dealt with the mindset around abundance and prosperity. And there was something that John DeMartini said that I thought was really insightful. He said that everyone is wealthy. It just appears in the form that they value most. And so I think that when we think carefully about what it is that we value, when we have more of that, we feel abundant, right? And so the question you need to ask yourself is, what makes you feel fulfilled? Now, I love something that Simon alluded to. The reality is there are lots of things that many of us want, right? Whether, again, it's spirituality or relationships or connection to self, or like the reality is nobody really ever wakes up in the morning and says, I want a suitcase full of paper with dead people on it. Because that's what money is. It's a piece of paper with a dead person on it. So nobody wakes up thinking that's what they want, but they do want more enriched experience in all of these areas. Again, relationships, connection to self, fulfillment, all the things that they want to do. And so if you think about it, having money, like financial resources, is actually a ticket to open up those possibilities on a more grand scale. And let's face it, everything in life kind of has a price. And if you don't have enough money to open that door, you don't get to participate in that situation. And so I think the science of getting rich, Wallace D. Waddell said this in the book. He said, whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that a person is not truly successful until they're rich. And I take that to mean that of all the things that could be available to us in this world, we need to understand how to accumulate tickets to the experiences that we want. Right? If you want to go get an education, you've got to pay for that. If you want to, have a nice house where you can raise your family, you need to pay for that. And so this idea of learning how to create. Now, this is an interesting idea here. It's not just, again, accumulating money, because money, it exists, it's always there. What we need to do is we need to learn how to create, because money always is attracted to creation. And so if we can understand how we can add value to the world, how we can tap into the things that serve other people, then the idea of a transaction can take place. Someone will give us the money. Now, it's interesting if we look at how thoughts become things, the movie that I made before this one that Simon was talking about, Bob Proctor said something very interesting. He pointed out a situation when the Maharaji was going to open up what he called the Center for Transcendental Meditation. And one of his followers came to him and he says, "Where are we going to get the money?"
Oh.
And the Maharaji simply said, "From wherever it is now." And I think that that's the thing that most people miss, is that the world is abundant. There's abundance around us everywhere. The problem that most people have is they do not know how to create value that shifts that abundance to some extent into their own pocket, right? So this is really how wealth is created. What can you do to be valuable? And I'm going to put it easy. So if you're listening to this right now, get your pen and write down this one sentence. It will change everything for you. Are you ready? If you want to expand what you have, you must expand who you are. I'll say that again. If you want to expand what you have to expand who you are. And that's how wealth is going to flow. Wealth does not come to, an empty person or an empty idea or an empty thing. Wealth always flows to creativity and those who are adding value. It's just that simple. Now, I'm going to put in one little plug here, if you don't mind. This is actually a really incredible movie, The Science of Getting Rich. But I think it is a good partner movie to what's about to come next. So my next movie is called The Lost Message. You're going to want to see that one too. Now, what is the lost message? That's a very curious question. Now, if you think about this, in our world today, there's a lot of messages coming at us, right? A lot of things that people are sharing with us. You can scroll forever on TikTok or Instagram or all these things, and you can find all kinds of crazy messages, and many of them very different than each other, and many of them promising various different results and self-esteem and fulfillment and all of these things. But you know what the lost message is? It's you. It's the authenticity of being true to who you really are and finding that ability to create and give your authentic self to the world that you live in. And when you don't base your self-esteem on outside sources and you really understand that you are good enough, you've actually already found a big portion of that wealth. And you can use that understanding of who you are to create and magnify the wealth that, again, back to John DeMartini's quote, everyone is wealthy. It just appears in the form you value most. But until you value you, until you understand who you are and what you want, you can't be wealthy because you're being something that other people think that you should be. You're being something to please them. You're not dialing into your greatest self. So the first step to wealth is really to find yourself. Now, I know that was a long-winded answer. I hope there's some things that are there. If you want to expand again what you have to expand who you are. But you cannot do that till you've discovered who you are. And I see our host has run away. So, Simon, let's start with you, Simon, and then Matt. What do you think about these ideas?
Well, I mean, I live by these ideas. If I go back, 16 years ago when I was introduced to The Secret, I thought it was a bunch of hogwash. Right. I wish I didn't, but I was closed-minded. I had blinders on. My life would be way different, but everything happens for a reason. And I'm just glad that at 50 years old, I got slapped in the face and was like, wake up to these ideas. Now, you can't get me away from reading and learning more about this stuff. I'm so fascinated, not just about universal law and the law of attraction, law of secret, but it's about learning about me and humanity and how our mind works and our connection with the universe and our creator, whatever you want to call it, God, source, and whatnot. It's amazing. And I just look around like right now, like anyone that thinks there's lack and scarcity in this world, go outside. The creator did not give us lack and scarcity. Poverty is just an idea. It's, you can take somebody out of poverty and put them in a rich area and they're going to become rich. I'm looking outside right now. It's all I see is abundance. There are so many drops of water in that lake. There's so many leaves on those trees. There's so many trees. There's so many molecules in that air. There's so many, there's so much of everything. And so when you look for abundance, you're going to find what you look for. If you're looking for your keys, you're going to find them. If you're not looking for something, you won't find it. So if you want abundance in life, just look around. Everything is abundant. and learn how to just be open. And most people are hoarding and holding on to their $10 in the bank or $100 in the bank. Well, look at what I'm doing. Look what my body's doing. If I'm holding on to something, I'm not open to receiving anything. And if you're not looking for abundance, you're focused on debt and scarcity, well, you're going to get more of what you look for. I don't look at that stuff anymore. I look at abundance. I look at, if I start getting, non-abundant throughout my day, I just look around and look outside and go, wow, look at all the blades of grass. Look how abundant this world is, and get back in that mindset and get in the flow of attracting abundance, whether it's experiences, new people in my life, money, because, like Douglas said, like the world does operate with those, that paper and those dead guys. There's just no question.
It's kind of funny that you say that about this abundance around us. I remember a few years ago, I was talking to Jack Canfield, who was the creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul, along with Mark Victor Hansen. And he was talking about most of us take a little breath, like little breaths. We don't really breathe in. And the truth of the matter is that if you breathe in and absolutely fill your lungs as full as you can make them, and you take everything that you want, there's actually still a ton of air for everybody else. Right? So you can still take as much as you want, but there's always enough for everybody else too. So most of us, again, take these little breaths thinking like, I don't know why we take little breaths, but it's just even how should we say, a subliminal messaging of how we look at scarcity. We just kind of feel like we only take what's fair. We only take what's fair. But we can still take as much as we want, and there's still enough for everybody.
Yeah, I was taught that. Go take a scoop out of a lake or out of an ocean. Does it sit there scooped out? No, it fills back up. And I have this mantra that I got from a lady named Mary Morrissey. From abundance, we scooped abundance, and more abundance remained.
Right. And Mary's in our film, The Gratitude Experiment. She's absolutely incredible.
Oh,
we love her.
I love that lady. Amazing.
It's funny, and part of that is, or I should say, part of what Simon was saying there was, about being at your age, finally listening to certain things. And I feel the same way. I just turned 40 back in August, and there were certain things that I wasn't willing to listen to. People would give you the information. It's, you finally mature and, okay, I should probably take some of this information and apply it to what works for you. You know what I mean? It's like, are you willing to accept this information? So I feel the same way. But I guess last question for me, and I guess they would be intertwined because, like you all have said about the papers with the dead people on them, helps motivate and move things around. How would you guys describe the momentum of money, but also with that, having the ability to choose what you do?
That's a good question. I'll answer the first part because the momentum of money is actually very interesting. And when you learned what I have learned about money is that it's transactional and it's made to be transactional, right? Money is meant to flow, right? And like Simon was explaining, when you are in lack and scarcity and you're trying to hang on to every last dollar you have, well, you've now stopped the flow of money. Yeah. Right. So you've now stopped the purpose of money. It's meant to be transactional. It's meant to flow. And when you understand that, you understand, okay, well, it's not doing any good in my bank account. I should give it to somebody else who could use it a lot more than me, because money is simply energy. Money is simply an energy that we can use and trade transactionally for other energy. And so when you understand that it's simply energy, it does no good collecting dust in a 401k or an RSP or a savings account or whatever you have it in. It does no good for anyone, right? Money is meant to be spent, shared, transacted, and it's meant to do good. So when you learn that, from what in my experience, is the more money that I give, the more money I end up receiving. And that goes back to another thing Simon was talking about, is the laws of the universe. Like Douglas was explaining, they are in fact laws. Law of receiving is one of the most amazing laws that I ever learned in my entire life and helped change my life. And the law of receiving states that before you can receive, you first must give openly without expectation of return. And I do that with money. And when you understand that money is always flowing, money is flowing to you. It's attracted to who you are, not what you do. That's another thing. We don't make money at our job. The money comes through our jobs. And it's coming through our jobs to the person that we are. So if you want to increase your income, You need to become something more than what you are now. Right. So that's what I'd say about money.
Yeah, and money is a relationship too. People don't realize it. Other than your dad and mother who birthed you, it is the longest relationship you've ever had. So, and I learned this from John Astroff. I did a program of his. It was called Winning the Game of Money, and it was about learning about my money story. How do I talk about it? How do I think about it? If you were to talk about your best friend and talk about, money is the source of all evil and all, just negative and negative, is that best friend going to want to hang out with you? No, it's not going to come to you. So most people talk poorly about money. Well, they're not going to attract it. It's not going to come to you, nor would a friend. If Matt started talking crap to me, I'm not going to go hang out with him and stay at his house and have a sleepover. Not a chance. Never going to talk to him. I'll never go that way. But if you're talking, abundantly and welcoming it, which I personally do every day, I have a money affirmation. I talk very nicely to it, respectfully, and I'm going to donate you and I'm going to share you and you're beautiful. And I talk, in a very positive manner. Well, I'm going to attract it. But if what we what we resist persists. So when people are talking poorly about it, they're not going to get it. There's no way it's going to come your way if you're talking, poorly about it. Nor would, no different than would somebody want to come hang out with you for a cup of coffee if they know you were bad mouthing them,
Well, in Matt's defense, sorry, Doug. In Matt's defense there, because of what Simon just said, I'll come have a sleepover as long as it's okay. I wear my Scooby-Doo pajamas.
Would you do it for a Scooby snack?
Yeah, you guys can all come have sleepovers. Absolutely.
Oh, the kids would love that. His two little boys would love that.
That's funny. That's funny.
Doug,
Pizza and pillow
go ahead.
fights. There you go. Pizza and pillow fights.
There we go.
It's interesting that as Simon was talking, it kind of reminds me, like a couple of years ago, I did this research of more than 400 self-made millionaires. And, we've published a lot of that in a program called Millionaire Mind Stretch, not mindset, because mindset often means that we're stuck in our ways. Stretch means we need to grow, right?
I like
and
that.
I'll never forget that as we looked at this, there was one millionaire that talked very much like what Simon did just now about looking at money as though it was an individual, right? And to treat it in a way that you would respect it. And I thought this was interesting that I've since seen that money always flows in one direction. It flows from those that value it least to those that value it most. That's just the way you can look anywhere in life. That's what happens. Money flows in that direction. Those that don't care about it, that don't make consistent plans about it, that don't respect where they put it, that don't really keep track of it, all of these things, that money from those people will always flow to those that actually care and have much more respect. And another thought that I thought was kind of interesting as I'm just sitting here thinking is the truth is we don't make money. None of us make money. In fact, I don't own a printing press that makes money, so I don't make money. But I earn money. I earn it. And I think, again, if we go back to that idea of a relationship, money and relationships are both earned by a variety of things. I'm going to say one of the foundational principles in a relationship is trust. Now, the reality is well, that word about trust and money, well, yeah, I mean, nobody really thinks about that. But every dollar that you are given is a trust. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to do something that appreciates with this, or are you going to squander it? It's a trust. Now, here's just a way to put that in perspective. So a couple of years ago, one of my friends, Frank McGuire, he's one of the co-founders of Federal Express and the former VP of marketing for all of KFC and American Airlines. It's a really incredible individual, one of the wisest mentors that I've ever had. He and I were speaking at an event. When the event finished, it was time for us to go to the airport. So we had our luggage taken to the front area with us, and there was a vehicle that came there to pick us up, and the bellboy that was there helped load our luggage into this vehicle. After he had done that, he came around and he held out his hand for a tip. Well, Frank pulled out a $5 bill and he held it out for this young man. The young man grabbed the other end of the $5 bill, but Frank did not let go. Instead, he looked in this boy's eyes and he said, "What's that I'm giving you?" And this kid didn't know how to answer. He just kind of shrugged and said, I don't know, $5? Frank again asked him, "What's it worth?" The kid didn't know what to say. So he said, $5? And Frank said sternly, no, it all depends on what you do with it next. That's it. That was an interesting lesson to me, that if you think about it, every dollar that you ever receive is a seed. How you plant that seed will determine what it's worth. Some people will take $5 and it's worth less than that. They'll throw it away almost immediately. It means nothing. It gives nothing. Other people will take $5 and they'll create something. And I'm not saying that, everyone's destined to create a multi-million-dollar company from a $5 bill, but there are people who have done that with even less, right? That they've created something multi-million without even putting in a dime, right? So for us to look at, any money that comes through our hand, there is a trust there. There is this idea that we can do something with it if we will also trust ourselves. Again, back to this idea, if we want to expand what we have to expand who we are. And that means learning how to do these things. That means having a different understanding than what we currently have. And the reality is the only person that can teach you how to think like a millionaire is another millionaire. And so who are you surrounding yourself with? What kind of information are you tapping into? What are you allowing to help influence your decisions? Because the truth of the matter is this idea of our thoughts becoming things. Well, where do your thoughts come from? I don't know about you, but when I hang around with certain people, my thoughts change, right? And so if you are surrounding yourself with influences that are not lifting you to your highest self, if you're watching movies or going to websites or listening to music or things that are not bringing out the best version of you, if you're reading books or not reading books that don't lift you higher, where are you getting your information? And so my challenge really to your audience and also question is how can you up-level that? Because in our mind, we kind of know in our heart already who we should be and where we should go and what we should do. We know our dreams, but we also know that we're falling short in some areas. So what can we improve to make that really come together? What can we improve to do that? So that would be my answer about the momentum of money. And by the way, do it now, because you've heard this saying, money loves speed. Yeah. Money loves speed. In fact, Joe Vitale has a really good book about that. And I'm just going to suggest that those who wait and wonder are always left wondering what's going on. Yeah, those who take action are creators.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think our net worth is what we see our worth is. It's what our self-image. Am I worth being?
It's been said that self-worth precedes net worth. It always does. So until you see yourself differently, you won't be able to accumulate differently. That's just a fact.
Yeah, you can't see yourself a millionaire. You can't become a millionaire if you don't see yourself as one. I know that. I'm trying to be a 100 millionaire right now, so I have to hang out with a guy down the hall that is one.
It's interesting that Simon says that. Jim Rohn, who is arguably one of the top motivational speakers of our time, I would say it's either him or Zig Ziglar, right? There's nobody bigger than those two. Anyways, Jim once said that if you win the lottery and you want to keep it, you need to learn how to become a millionaire quick. That's true, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not the money that makes you the millionaire. It's who you are.
Yeah. I've been a millionaire twice and broke twice. It's this time now that I won't go backwards because I understand it.
So, gentlemen, where can people see this documentary since it's now going to have a worldwide release?
So we're doing something really special for your listeners as well today. So I'll just say where you can find it. Then I want to talk about some free gifts that we're going to be giving you guys for coming to watch it. So if you go to the website, www.thescienceofgettingrich.movie, you have to add the word movie in there. So again, www.thescienceofgettingrich.movie.com, you can find the movie. Now, when you come to watch it, I'm going to give you some free stuff. The first thing that I want to give you is a workbook that will teach you how to implement those strategies that you can actually use while you're watching the movie. Kind of a fill-in-the-blank thing that will help you recognize key points that you can immediately do in your life. That's bonus number one. Bonus number two, oftentimes when people get a big book like The Science of Getting Rich, and it's not a big book, it's only 17 chapters, you could read it in a night, but still some people are like, that's a lot of reading. It's not, but some people think it is. We've actually extracted some of the highlights, the big points, the important ideas and concepts that'll immediately change your life. And we put them also in a book, Power Thoughts, from Wallace D. Wattles. In addition to that, I'm going to give you a third bonus for coming to watch the movie. That's actually the book, The Science of Getting Rich itself. And then you can see what the original text said. Now, there's a couple other bonuses in there that are also a secret that will teach you how to develop the millionaire mindset and help you start thinking immediately like a millionaire. Now, I want to share that one of the powers of this movie, which is astounding to me. You remember the book, The Science of Getting Rich, came out in 1910. Well, that was a little while ago. The principles are still true, but that was over 100 years ago. So part of the movie and part of the books and materials that we're giving you is to show you how to apply that wisdom today, right now. So if you are ready to take the next step to get to the next level, wherever your finances are, whatever your feelings about yourself are, or your feelings of fulfillment, if you feel like you're living the life here, but you really want to be here, if there's dreams that you have that you don't know how to get that shortcut to get there, if there's things that you want in your life that are just out of your grasp, that if you had a little help, you could get, if you have a life plan of creating enterprises and growing on as an entrepreneur and you're just not sure how to follow it, this is where you're going to find your mentors. This is where you're going to find that information that you need. And right now, I want you to listen to your heart. If you're watching this and you've heard these things from so much wisdom from all of these people involved in this training today, this visit today, if you've watched this and you felt that and you're feeling in your heart that now it's time to make a change, you need to go get the movie.
Yeah.
www.thescienceofgettingrich.com.
And I just want to add this. Anyone that's listening, just remember what I said. 2.5 years ago, I watched Douglas's first movie, and my life is completely abundant. I was in debt 130 grand, and I'm worth multi millions with tons of different companies, and I'm developing all sorts of stuff. If you don't pick up this movie, you will end up swallowing one thing that I never want to have in my life, is that pill of regret later. The only regret you'll have is by not watching this. Buy it. It's cheap. Get on watching that. Get the book, everything. And again, get a mentor and a coach, just as I did, just as Matt did. It's life transforming. I mean, this movie was instrumental for so much of the personal development world. It's insane. I mean, not watching it would just be, it'd be crazy, I think. I mean, there's so much good in it.
Matt, did you want to add anything?
Yeah. These guys said it all. I mean, The Science of Getting Rich, if you're sitting at home on the couch right now going, I don't know what any of this means. I don't know how to become a millionaire. This is a great place to start. This is a great place to start for anyone who's like, I'm not sure if I really buy into any of all this stuff. And I can tell you, like, the three of us on this call, and we have lived it. It has transformed, like Simon said, has transformed our lives, this material. So is that not worth watching a movie for? It's just like, it's crazy not to take advantage of it, because you can watch a movie and do nothing. But like Simon watched one movie and it changed his entire life. And not just his, it changed my entire life. So the movie that Douglas made changed Simon's life. Simon then changed my life. And now I'm coaching and I'm changing hundreds and thousands and one day millions of people's lives. So like, that's the power of this kind of material. So I really urge anyone listening, just watch the movie.
Yeah.
On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, man.
Right on.
Hey there, Friday fans. We know how much you enjoy the movies. Enjoy grabbing your Friday merchandise and interacting with the Friday family, whether it be at conventions or during our particular watch-alongs. Well, when you're looking to get yourself masks, why not check out our friends over at Camp Blood Customs out of New York State and order your specific custom mask from any of the films. All orders are made specifically. Your needs and wants are. Make sure you find Camp Blood Customs on Facebook, Instagram, and all over social media, and order yours today.
Hey guys, I'm Simon Davis, one of the lucky cast members of the new hit film, The Science of Getting Rich. You're listening to Crazy Train Radio. Check out this movie. It is amazing. It's going to be the best one of the year or the decade. Find it at www.thescienceofgettingrichmovie.com.
Hey guys, I'm Matt Poechman, and I am a cast in the movie The Science of Getting Rich. You can find it at thescienceofgettingrichmovie.com. This movie is transformation. I just want to say one thing to anyone listening to this amazing radio station on Crazy Train Radio is, if you're anything like me a year ago, you're sitting at home going, what the heck am I going to watch on TV tonight? Everything on Netflix is old. There's no new shows. Well, guess what? Right here is the best thing for you. This is a movie that can transform your entire life. It won't take much time, it won't take much money, it won't take much effort, but this movie can change and transform your entire life. TheScienceOfGettingRichMovie.com.